Hello and welcome to the Nat Coombs Show on ESPN. College Days is back, which means Ben Isaacs is back. Hey, bud, how you doing?
I'm good. I mean, this is the summer. It feels like, there shouldn't be any college right now, but there is. In fact, in terms of college football, it's actually been a really, really big month.
Well, you know what? It made a lot of sense. Producer Ollie, he's the one with all the bright ideas around here. I mean, I think we've established that, right? He's the brains of the operation. Dropped me a line and said, we should do a College Days on this story. And I was like, well, of course we should, because we hadn't had plans to really get the whole College Days train on the tracks. Although we've done quite a few in the off season, actually, it turns out. But obviously getting into next season. And this is, for those of you listening to the first College Days, we're going to be doing a combination of things, really. Looking at players that are going to be in the 2022 NFL draft. It almost certainly players that are first round prospects, although we'll maybe do a little deeper dive to get you up to speed through the season on players you're going to be seeing in the NFL next season, and certainly that are going to be front and center in the draft, as well as previewing and looking at the big college games that are going to be on ESPN Player and ESPN TV over here in the UK that particular weekend. So it's going to be a combination of review of the season and player focus. So we're going to crank that up later on in the summer, but we figured huge news in the last 7 days. No surprise, but nevertheless, majorly significant news that college players, college athletes, but particularly those playing football and to a lesser extent basketball, are going to be able to benefit from their status, benefit from the roles that they play, their celebrity on either a national level or a local level that they enjoy in a way that they couldn't before. This is seismic news, Ben, and it's not a term and a word I throw around loosely. This is a major shift in how college sports is constructed going forward. So talk us through the specifics, first of all. What can athletes do now that they couldn't do before?
So under NIL rules, and NIL stands for name, image, and likeness, this means that college players can make money from their own name, from their faces. They can't, if you play for Alabama, you can't make money by putting the Alabama logo on. You could create your own logo. You can now appear in TV ads. You could be on TikTok with sponsored posts raking in the money. All of a sudden,
so all the things you're already doing as a broadcaster.
Exactly. My 500,000 followers who on TikTok who want to see me dancing. That's what they're getting. Now, it doesn't mean that college players will be paid to play. It's not like Ohio State can say to a recruit, now, if you'd like to come and join the Ohio State Buckeyes, we're going to give you $100,000 a year. There's no salary.
There's no salary, no signing bonus.
No,
right? So
no. But all of these players can now make money off their fame as much as they like during the course of their entire college career. They've gone from being unable to accept anything to being able to accept pretty much whatever they want. So we're getting people appearing in local TV ads. We're getting people having sponsored Instagram posts. There are many ways of doing this. There are people selling NFTs, and don't ask me to get into exactly how NFTs work, but people are making a lot of money off them. People who are smarter than I am. There are some players who've got together to form a business that will help players get matched up with brands who want to deal with them, because some of these players are so smart, they realize they can get paid twice. They can get paid to advertise things, and they can get paid by managing other people. It's a brave new world, and it's going to be a little bit messy at first, because there will be some people who think now, for example, at the University of Miami, one of the big boosters at Miami, and the boosters are the people who plow money into the sports programs so that they will be successful. And that might be they donate millions to update the weight room or whatever, or buy a big new scoreboard for the stadium. A big Miami.
What would you buy if you were a booster? What would your donation be?
I would buy some eco-friendly straws. I'd get a pack of eco-friendly straws. That's the budget that I have got, and that I think my accountant would let me write off. Unlike a man in Miami who owns.
Go for it.
who owns some MMA gyms, and he has said he will pay every single scholarship player at Miami to endorse his gyms. Now, they don't actually need to do anything. He is just saying, right, if you've got a scholarship at the University of Miami, I'm going to give you $3,000, $5,000 a year to be a Miami Hurricane. And it's things like that that are getting people a little bit worried that, will someone join the University of Miami so that they can get that extra money? Time will tell.
So, okay. So first things first, incidentally, my donation would be quite similar to the way the Jacksonville Jaguars have swimming pools and kind of pools inside the stadium that you can watch the game from. I'd have that with a water slide that leads right down to the field that I could fire. Maybe send somebody down there actually with just some feedback to the head coach, because I want to be a booster that interferes with the coaching and gets involved with that. But so just on that gym example, just to kind of backtrack a bit on that, or just to pad it out a bit more. So he's saying every single player on this team, I'm going to give a cash injection to. But are you saying that this kind of thing was happening before? I didn't quite follow with it. You're saying boosters who've been around forever, that are the patronage and the support that they give teams collectively in terms of facilities, the examples that you gave, they're now moving into different territory where they're paying players or giving players a cash incentive, but not necessarily requiring them to do all that much.
No. What Dan Lambert, the man who's doing this, what he's doing is perfectly legal. Now, it would be different if he said there will be bonuses if you score X number of touchdowns, or you'll forfeit money if you leave the team, or anything like that. He's just saying, in effect, this is advertising, and that if you will be associated with us, you will get $500 per month per player. Once it starts being connected to what they're doing on the field, then there would be a problem, because then that is in effect them being paid for their achievements rather than being paid for being famous. And that might seem like a very narrow distinction, but it is what keeps the sport still technically amateur. You're not being scored for scoring a touch. You're not being paid for scoring a touchdown.
But the association, meaning that all of those players will have to endorse the gym on their social media channels, rock up for personal appearance. They have to do something for it. You're saying that it's going to get the money, whatever.
I would imagine that some players won't end up doing anything for it. Perhaps the less famous players won't do anything for it. It will just be, I mean, for a start, this gym has got massive publicity. This has been national news across America because this is the first deal of its kind. So Dan Lambert has already done well there, but he has also, in effect, sent a message that the University of Miami is somewhere you can go and you will be looked after, that there will be financial deals that can do things for you. So
let's get onto that then. So I get that teams aren't going to be able to, at this stage anyway, although who knows what the future holds as a result of this change, but teams are going to be able to outbid officially their rivals in terms of recruitment. But if we look at historically anyway, the key attributes of an effective recruitment program for a college, right? It was in no particular order, obviously, how competitive that team is in terms of national rankings, making players pro ready, depending on your position, with a clear connection with either pro style offenses, strong links with certain teams. Can I, if I'm an elite player, move on to the NFL? Do I have a better chance of doing that if I'm with this organization? Climate, and I'm not being facetious, but that is, lifestyle is an important selection criteria. So all of those things will continue to be important. But is this now another major component for the elite players I'm talking about here, Ben? Because there's a very important distinction you've already made between the rank and file college players who realistically are not going to be making it to the pros, that are going to want to, outside of their education and the academic support they get through scholarship, are going to want to try and make a few quid, which is fair enough. But those players that are destined to make the pros anyway, is the financial component of the college era college phase of their careers going to make a huge difference to their selection criteria?
I don't think so. For those, let's say the top 100 high school recruits, the sort of players who are very much banking on an NFL career, they will still be making their choices as to which university will get me draft ready, which one will get me into the league playing on Sundays where the big money is, not the $500 per month to represent a gym. For those players, they're unlikely to, if they've got a choice between, say, Alabama and Miami, and they feel that Alabama is more likely to turn them into a top 10 draft pick, they're going to go to Alabama, not Miami. The $500 a month is not going to sway them. But if you are the sort of player who thinks, well, I guess there's a chance I can make the NFL, but it's probably unlikely. And let's face it, there are a lot of players who do not see themselves in that way. They will feel like, okay, I'm only a 3-star recruit, but I can make the NFL and I'm going to make the NFL. But for those players who realize it's a long shot, then why not go to a university where financially you'll be looked after? I mean, that $500 a month, that can pay for your car, that can pay for nights out. You're already getting a full scholarship. It makes your college experience that much nicer.
So let's talk about that. So for those players that are that are there, even if they're starters, that know they're not going to be making the pros, right? But actually for all players, full stop, irrespective of their elite status or not on the college side, the lifestyle of a college player until now, the fact that these are players who are at the bigger, more established, contending colleges, playing in front of 50, 70, 80,000 people that are on ESPN, on TV audiences of millions watching them, that are superstars in many respects. Certainly, if you look at it in the context and relatively to athletes of their age in European football who are already playing professional football, there are a lot of parallels in terms of the status, the profile, the impact that they are having within the sporting organization and league that they're in, but they're just not making any money. In fact, the living, is it frugal overstating? It's certainly a very understated existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they're having a lot of their food taken care of because the teams want them to eat the right sorts of food. But beyond that, they can't go out and have a nice car. If they've got a nice car, people will get suspicious.
Sure.
And if you've done something like you've sold a game-worn jersey, which in the past would have been completely illegal in terms of kind of your eligibility, if you looked like you had a bit too much money, there was a chance there was going to be an investigation into you. So even if you did have some money, you probably couldn't show it. Now, what the listeners can't see right now is I'm wearing an SMU Mustangs t-shirt, and nice. It's a vintage t-shirt, and I love it, and it's relevant right now because SMU were known in the 1980s. It was kind of an open secret, but it just couldn't be proved that their players were getting paid often before they'd actually signed with that university. They were often given luxury cars, they were given cash payments, and obviously it was all off the record. And when eventually it could be proved, SMU, who were one of the national title contenders for a number of years, they were given the death penalty. They were not allowed to put out a football team for a few years, and it completely ruined their program. They have never come back to national prominence and probably never will. Now, let's say this was happening right now, and we know that there are university boosters who are giving financial inducements to players illegally. And when I say I can't tell you who, I don't mean because I know and I shouldn't say, but because it's known that this happens, but nobody can prove anything. Nobody knows where it's happening, but it's known that it must happen. Now, let's say you are a very, very rich, let's say you're a Texas oil billionaire, and you want somebody to go to, let's say, University of Texas. Now, in the past, you would have tried to illegally give them, say, $100,000, right? Now, here's what you could do. You're familiar with the app Cameo, where you can basically pay a celebrity to kind of sing happy birthday to your friends.
I'll be trying to get Mike Carlson on it all year.
Oh, I would definitely pay £100.
We got to get Carlson on Cameo.
He's got to be on there. But let's say this top high school recruit is on there, and he puts his price at $10,000. Now, there were probably not many kids in the school who are going to spend $10,000 to have one of their schoolmates sing happy birthday to them. But what about if the boosters decide, okay, here's what we're going to do. I am going to book you for Cameo every day for a month.
Yeah.
And then you are going to sign with my university. It is all above board.
Yeah.
You might say, okay, well, does this follow the letter of the law? They're not doing anything wrong. Somebody is offering a service. I will sing you happy birthday. It will cost you $10,000. Here you go. Here's how you do it. And college players are appearing on Cameo, and it's only a matter of time before the high school players are on Cameo, because the high school players, especially for basketball, are very similar to the college players, and they will have huge followings on social media, and they're already being able to put ads on their social media. There's a service that lets you pay to play video games with college players. You'll pay through the nose to play like a game of Madden with a college football star. There are so many ways now.
I've got a great idea. We should do that and be just ridiculously bad. And just see how confused they get.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating, Ben. So I want to take you back to your earlier answer then. So you've got, let's say, a wide receiver, right, who is in demand, and College A and College B. College A are the better organization in terms of contention for the national championship. They are a better bet, a safer bet to get to the pros. But College B isn't miles off, right? So College B, the playoffs have been expanded now, so it might make the playoffs, isn't sort of top 4 side, but, is a top 10, top 15, top 20 ranked college. And again, it's not as if the offense that college is running is going to be a huge barrier in terms of that receiver being looked at as an NFL prospect, right? But it's definitely credibly a level down. It would you run the risk of dropping your draft stock, even if you're not necessarily, blowing your chances. But College B is, that there is a construct there through boosters, through smart gaming of the system, that you're going to make, let's just say, a significant number, a couple of $1 million, right? Which isn't outside the realms of possibility. Mm-hmm. That is going to change players' minds, isn't it? There are going to be some players, particularly those players who, who have pressure around them to be cashing in now. It will change trajectories, surely.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will for certain players. Now, let's think of sort of let's talk about Justin Fields, obviously a player very, very close to my heart, and I'm picking Justin Fields because he was on a TV show where they kind of followed around a handful of high school quarterbacks, and Justin Fields, his family were well off, and Justin Fields was driving to high school in an expensive truck, and you have other players, many players who come from situations where there is pretty much no money in the family, and they are playing sports because this is a way that they can look after their families. The sort of players who, when they get to the NFL, they've got an extended family that they've got to finance. If you are in that position and you think, okay, well, yeah, there is a bit less of a chance of me making the NFL with this team that's ranked top 20, but I can make 7 figures while I'm in college playing.
Yeah.
Surely you're going to do that. Now, Justin Fields, financially, he wouldn't need to do that. And Spencer Rattler, who's the current Heisman Trophy favorite, the quarterback of Oklahoma, he comes from money, and he's already put out a statement saying that he's going to do these NIL deals and he's going to give a portion of the money to charity, which obviously is vague. A portion could be 0.1%, a portion could be 90%, but he said that, he's going to give some money away. Most people aren't in that position. Most people in the NFL did not come from money and could really do with, while they're putting their body on the line for, say, 3 seasons in college, could do with that $1 million. Now, the thing is you're right. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that there will be top top prospects who are basically told by boosters, look, if you're here, then there are these ad deals. I'll make sure you've got these ad deals. The issue will be is that how sustainable is that? If you're a big booster of a particular university and you say, okay, right, well, I own a car dealership and I'm going to have the top 10 recruits that we bring in a particular year. I'm going to have them appear in ads for my local car dealership and I'm going to pay them like $50,000 a pop. I'm going to give them free access to luxury cars. How long can you sustain doing that financially? Because it's coming out of a business rather than simply an individual. That business has to be able to sustain that level of outgoing. And all businesses that do have any form of marketing, you will have a marketing budget. And that is not an unlimited amount of money. Even if as a booster, you might want to spend $5-10 million on attracting top talent, at some point that affects your business. And it might be that things go on for the next 5 years that then don't happen after that, when people are like, well, do you know what? I've spent $20 million here. The college I've been putting the money in, they haven't won a national championship. Maybe I need to spend my money a bit more wisely. Maybe I'll cut this down. And I think that will happen. And I think the players that will end up making the most money out of all this are not the ones who are doing these ad deals. It's the ones who are kind of self-made, the ones who've created their own brand, the ones who've created a whole following on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, the ones who are getting paid for the things that they control, creating their own artwork, creating their own music, and doing things for themselves. I think that's the long-term sustainable thing. But I think in the short term, it's going to be boosters trying to game the system.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be the Wild West out there, isn't it? And in particular, those that are attracted to getting involved as agents, as representatives, as financial consultants, and all kinds of, I'm sure, newly defined roles that it'll bring out some very good operators in that space who will open up and see this as an opportunity to continue to build upon their already credible reputations. But equally, it's going to wheel in a lot of snakes and a lot of sharks, right? I was talking to J Bell, our friend J Bell, about this, of course, because listeners will know that J Bell, outside of being NFL UK royalty, is involved in financial advice for players, both past and present, and really sharp in that area. And he was saying, absolutely, you are going to see a real move into this space from the established incredible firms, but also, as I say, those that are looking at this as a gold rush, right? And I guess one of the negative and concerning outcomes here, Ben, and consequences of this shift is going to be there are going to be players that will be exploited, and players that will be ripped off, and players that will, and particularly those, as you say, who come from a disadvantaged background, who don't have much money, will find themselves getting taken for a ride, some of them, by these sharks.
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, some people who didn't want NIL to happen were kind of using this as an argument to have it scrapped. The idea that these players will be taken advantage of, and kind of who will protect them financially. And the thing is that, isn't this the case for any student? If you're a student and you're working in a bar, and maybe you're told, okay, it's going to be cash in hand, and then what if you're not paid, and what rights have you got? Any young person in college who's trying to make some money can face these issues. Now, my hope will be that enough universities will put together a team of people to look after their students' interests in this way. Some universities have already encouraged their college athletes to take classes on building their own brand and financial management, because they know that this is something that is dear to their hearts. The major universities should be looking out for these players. They can't get too involved in the financial deals, but they should have it that people can kind of look over things, make sure things are watertight, make sure people aren't being taken for a ride, because there are going to be enough unscrupulous people out there. There's going to be enough people who, because as you say, this is the Wild West. Nobody knows exactly how this is going to play out. The rules will kind of formulate as we go along, and we see what works and what doesn't. Right now, people don't know, so it's impossible to sign a deal and be like, "Oh, okay, well, this is definitely fine. I can tell by looking at it," because nobody knows how these things will play out. There will be some sad stories at the end of all this, but I think there will be far more happy stories. But we just can't overlook the risk that the players are at in terms of being conned, basically.
Yeah, right. And as you say, those who steadfastly against this, and I mentioned at the top, this is something that's not a surprise to us, because with various moves in certain states and legal directives that enabled this, it was inevitable that this would become a uniform thing as far as the NCAA's position on it. But nevertheless, those who have been critical of the change and of the development cite, as well as the exploitation risk, cite their concerns about the commercialization of an amateur sport, which purists celebrate. I know you love your NFL as much as college, but you love the fact that there is a marked distinction there. Is it a distinct possibility now, Ben, that despite the fact everyone's saying, "Oh, it's got nothing to do with salaries, and we're not going to see a professionalization of the game in that way," that actually this is the first step towards that, and whatever we say now, it has moved forward irrevocably, and whether that's 10 years, 20 years down the line, professionalizing college sports in terms of salaries, contracts, trades is now inevitable because of this.
I mean, the sport has changed so much in that you are able to transfer to another university far, far easier than it ever was. It is now very simple. It is now like free agency. The fact that there was never any national championship game, and we're now on the verge of there being a 12-team playoff. And now, in terms of the players, the one that is the most significant is this one, the fact they can actually make some money. I completely understand anyone's concerns about, is this the thin end of the wedge? Is this just, the first step to making it professional? Personally, I do not think that will happen. I don't think there is that much appetite. I don't think the players expect to be paid by the universities. I think they feel that the scholarships are absolutely fantastic. The thing they've just wanted to do was to be able to make some money. If they want to go and sign some autographs and get paid to do it, they should be allowed to do that. And I think because of this rule, I think it does the opposite. I don't think it's the thin end of the wedge. I think it heads off any cause for people to say, right, these players need to be paid, because now they can be paid, just not by the universities. The universities can't afford to get into massive bidding wars for these players, because the top college coaches are paid the same as top NFL coaches. These are very expensive, but they don't have the budget that NFL teams do. I don't think we will see a situation where players are directly paid. I know the universities don't want it, and I don't think the players are expecting that. I think the players just wanted freedom. It's perhaps appropriate that this was all announced so soon around Independence Day, because finally the college athletes are independent. They don't expect to get a salary. They just expect to be treated fairly and be able to make their own money. And finally they can. I don't think we'll see professional college players.
Speaking of making their own money, Ben, let's end on that. So inevitably, when this news broke and came into play, you're thinking, okay, so what kind of levels of money are we talking? What's the difference going to be between the superstars and everybody else? And many of the things we talked about on today's show in terms of how that affects the current crop of college players. But what about the heavyweight players from back in the day? Tim Tebow and Johnny Manziel and Reggie Bush, of course, and, perhaps most notably for obvious reasons, who will be looking on at this now and thinking, my God, if this was in play when I was a college star, all three of those would have made millions and millions of dollars, right? In Reggie Bush's case, it's even more significant, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Those sort of players could have named their price. They are more famous. They were more famous in their day than any of the current crop of players, and that includes the ones that have just left, such as Trevor Lawrence. With Reggie Bush, he was one of the greatest college football players of all time. When he was a running back at USC, he was absolutely remarkable. He would take over games. You'd watch a game and you'd feel like you were watching just a highlight reel because of the things that he would do. He quite rightly won the Heisman Trophy. And then it turned out that the university had been giving money to his family, had put them up in a nice home, and the Heisman Trophy was taken away from him. For that year, there is no winner. It is simply down as vacated. It is the only year that there is no winner for the Heisman Trophy. Now, Reggie Bush was accepting money from the university, so it is a little bit different. But he lost his Heisman Trophy not for cheating. He didn't take steroids. He didn't do anything to give himself an advantage on the field. It was just that his family were given a home. And this, to me, really kind of sticks in the craw, that he has not been given his Heisman Trophy back. Now, he is starting a campaign. He wants his Heisman Trophy back. And I think most fans would agree with this. He says that he and his team have reached out to the NCAA and the Heisman Trust. They've not heard back. He says that he won the Heisman Trophy solely due to his hard work and dedication. And that is absolutely true. Now, if these rules were around when Reggie Bush was around, he would be getting endorsements. He would have endorsements coming out of his ears. He wouldn't need to worry about taking these, under the table payments. He would have been fine and he would have his Heisman Trophy. And if the NCAA and the Heisman Trust have any sense, they will make sure that he gets his Heisman back because he earned that. He didn't buy it. Forget anything that happened financially. He did not cheat. That is his trophy. Give it back to him. If anyone's listening from the Heisman Trust, please give it back to him.
Undoubtedly are going to be, Ben. Let's be honest. They know you're on the show. They know it's college days. They're going to be locked and loaded because they subscribe to the feed. As indeed, I'm sure you all do who are listening right now. But if you don't, head on over to whichever podcatcher you listen to us on and subscribe. And also on the Reggie Bush comments. And indeed, a lot of the things we've talked about on today's show. What do you think? Really interested to hear your thoughts on this because everyone I've spoken to, Ben, J-Bell, difference of opinion really in terms of where this is going, what this means for the game, and some of the pitfalls and challenges that individuals, teams, organizations are going to face. So really interested in your perspective on it, gang, at the NC Show, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's how you get in touch with the show. Lots of content is pushed out all through the week there. Videos from the shows, extra bonus stuff. So shout out to Tom, to Marley, to Andy and the crew running social diligently. And we're going to keep on keeping on as we get closer to the 2021 season. 2 months away, Ben. Huh?
It's so close. I can taste it.
Well, we got to get our act together when it comes to college days because we got to start cracking those out with more frequency and more regularity as the college season, which will start even sooner, of course. So we got to why don't we go away and debrief right now on that? We'll get Ollie, the producer, in there. He's going to bring lots of stats, as he always does, of course, graphs. He'll project out what college days can look like using data and science. So that's really important to get that in the mix as well. So we're going to do that. We're going to debrief on. Great chat to you, bud.
Cheers. I can't wait for this all to kick off now.
I like the way you said kick off, like it's going to kick off.
It probably is going to kick off.
Kick off, and there's kicking off, and there's kicking off. Great stuff from Ben Isaacs at Tweets from Ben is how you follow him on social media. We're going to be back with more NC Show next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll see you later, gang. Bye.
Fellow baseball nuts, join us on the Johnny and Josh Show with my baseball brothers, where JC will
endeavor to offer some insightful analysis, and my friend Eric Jansen will
offer quirky baseball trivia. But we also have David Langell, who will
combine a high level of inappropriateness with a low level of analysis.
The Johnny and Josh Show, available to download wherever you listen to your podcasts.